In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to repot Cephalotus, the Albany pitcher plant. These guys are beautiful little pitcher plants native to Albany in Australia, which is on the western coast, and these guys are truly unique plants. They grow these small tubby little pitchers which mainly catch insects such as ants and any other small little critters that walk along the ground, which are attracted to their beautiful pitchers. And because they are only from one small little spot of Australia, which actually some people say it's a much larger range, that means that they have very specialized care and soil needs and watering and whatnot. And it is true because they grow basically on little mountain cliffs by the ocean, and they get watered by the ocean spray. So you guys can imagine that's quite intense way to grow as a plant. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly what we do when we unpot them, what soil we use, and how to give them the best care possible. You might not be able to see them, but I'm talking about these little guys right over here. And if you guys are interested in my trips around Europe to find the best place to grow carnivorous plants, stick around to the end of the video because I have some, I wouldn't say exciting, but some very interesting news about a trip that we just came back on. I'll explain a little bit more about it later. So let's get started on potting up these plants. So our first step is that we need to give these guys obviously some soil, mix up some soil for them. And what I've read up from California Carnivores and the Savage Garden, the book, which is Peter D'Amato's book from also California Carnivores, they recommend a mixture of 2:1 sand is to peat. So 2 scoops of sand, 1 scoop of peat. And that's a pretty good mixture because they like to be super sandy, they like to be more free draining, they're sitting in water all the time and stay very wet. They can be very prone to mildew, which is like a type of fungus, and that can of course cause them to rot away and die, which happens very often with these plants. They always get mildew, so you want to try to prevent that as much as possible by keeping them as dry as possible. So let's mix that up, and once it's mixed up, we can start unpotting them. So in this step, you guys can see that I'm actually rinsing out the sand because there is just so much dirt in it. And as you guys can see here at the end, it's now nice and clean. So it's now time for us to add some of the peat. Alright, now that we've finished the soil recipe, which is a very basic recipe, some people use perlite, 1 perlite, 1 sand, some people use just grits. You know, you can kind of use something that's very well draining. I've got some pots that I've cleaned out, and at the bottom of the pots I have some sphagnum, and that's just to hold the soil in, the sand in, because I personally hate the sand and the soil falling through the holes out into the open. And I haven't been very successful with preventing it this far because the rain comes in at all angles and it sprays it out, and obviously the plants get that soil everywhere, and I kind of hate it. But I'm looking into getting a greenhouse, but I can only really grow it around the side of the house. So until I can figure that out, we're gonna have to just deal with it. We are going to now unpot this plant, and I'm not too sure about this one. This is Karen's one. It looks very healthy, looks very happy. The pot is pretty big, so I might just leave hers for now. She is unfortunately sick, she's in hospital right now. But we will definitely need to be repotting this one because it has been dying since I got it. So one of the biggest downsides to repotting these plants is that they hate their roots being disturbed. So when we unpot this, we're going to try our very, very best to not disturb the roots while removing as much soil as possible. The dog that we have, his name is Reggie, he bit off one of these pitchers, so I'm going to show you that one up close here. So you can see they have this very beautiful dark red color which comes with intense light apparently, and you can see they make these small tubby little pitchers, and they have a ribbed peristome inside. You guys can see that it is ribbed, and they have a little M on their lid. I'm sorry for the wind. I'm still trying to figure out a solution to prevent it from being so loud. I've tried a lot of different things. Now, I've mentioned this to you guys in the past. The best time to repot your carnivorous plants, kind of all of them, is in late winter, early spring. It is I guess, mid-spring now, but it is still really cold, so I guess we can kind of get away from it. And I literally just noticed there is a tag in there. It says typical on it, but when we get this out, we'll be able to see it more. So yeah, I'm going to try to preserve these little Capensis that are everywhere as well, because Karen does want them for her little bog garden that she made, which I will be doing an update on with you guys, so don't stress. It's just that nothing's happened because it's cold. So I squeeze the sides of the pots, shake it out very gently, and let's inspect what's going on here. So I also have a tray of water, as you guys can hopefully see. And the bottom of this is so all throughout you guys can see that the previous potter of this plant used perlite, grit and peat, which is actually a very good soil medium for these guys. But I want something a little bit more sandy, and I think they need a bit of a repot anyway because of this moss growing everywhere, and there's lost the soil. You guys can see there's no soil there anymore. So because they hate their roots being disturbed, the best way that I believe to remove it is to literally just sit it inside of the water and let the water do the work. And now we actually have access to this. So yeah, so it was like a milk carton that says typical values. Let's just keep removing the soil. Now something that I am going to do with these little rocks, now that we obviously have little rocks, I am going to use these rocks on the top layer of our pot because it does help to keep it dry and prevent the moss from growing, which will overcrowd the plant, which, as you guys can see, happened in this case. And that overcrowding allows rot to occur. So I'll take all these little rocks and just sprinkle them all over the top. So you guys might actually be able to see this. We have two Cephalotus over here, so I'm trying very gently to pull this apart, and you can see that there's little babies just off to the side here, so they are still conjoined. I will not be separating them, but in the future we will have two little babies, so that's a very good sign for us, guys. And you can also see that this one's actually making some new growth right in the middle there, which is also a very good sign. It means that the plant is not dead. There's not many roots to speak of, and I will trying to be very delicate with the roots. Of course, this is very invasive for them. Something I do recommend that you guys do if you have a couple pitchers like this, that you just pour the dirty water away, because you don't want to get that on yourself. As you guys saw, there's nothing come out, and that's because the little dog Reggie, like I mentioned, he toppled this over while he was pulling off that little pitcher. So yeah, but you can see he also damaged this lid here. Very unfortunate. But that gross scoopy stuff in there is what we're trying to avoid. Anyway, squeeze the sides gently, firm. There you go, just like that. So this soil is actually falling apart much more than the previous pot we just did, and that's probably because there are no other plants in here. It's just the Cephalotus. See the little roots there. A big problem with the moss is that it grows in between the plants and keeps the humidity really high in there, and that can, like I said, cause crown rot, mildew, stuff like that, which does kill these guys fairly often. So if you can, try and pull out that moss. See, that big clump is right up against that plant there, and you can kind of see how this little picture has grey and black on it. That's some fungus. Alright guys, so I was much more invasive than what I wanted to be, but there was a lot of moss up and around inside these crowns. So unfortunately I did have to be a little bit more invasive than I wanted to be, and I broke this little offshoot off, which is very, very sad. But it does give us the chance to make a new little baby off to the side, so we will experiment and try that out. So if you want to see if this little guy grows, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on one of those future videos. And just a quick little reminder about video updates. These plants grow very slowly, guys, so it's not always possible for me to do an update 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later. You know, updates do come, they just take a bit of time. So next up, I'm going to get another pot with some soil at the bottom. We're going to fill up that pot and we're going to start planting them up. So as usual, fill up the bottom of the pot and tamp it down pretty well, and do that with each layer. Remember, it doesn't have to be like concrete, it just has to be pretty decent. And now obviously I made the soil a bit too wet, as you guys saw, so it's going to be a little bit more tough to work with, but it also might work in our favor. So I might be able to, because it's so wet and sludgy, actually just move everything around much easier. So let us do this with as little invasive procedures as possible. Have the leaves outwards so that they can obviously get some sunlight. Now we know that the soil is nicely positioned all around the roots because it is pretty sludgy. Fill that up. Now I don't want to fill it up too much because, like I said, I want to put those little rocks all over the top to prevent moss growing, and when it inevitably rains, it will help to prevent the soil from scattering everywhere. But I will show you guys that at the end. So that's one down. I'll make it look better later. On to the next one. Now honestly, I don't really know what this is. If this is one of the roots, I'm gonna bury it anyway. But this is gonna be a mission. Look at that. It's gonna be a mission I enjoy, but damn, if I kind of let it dangle over the edge like that, that would look really cool. So you guys can see I'm really trying to get up against those roots. This little guy can get some good airflow, and hopefully we can prevent any of the mildew or rot that looked like it was starting to form on them. The roots are all covered. We have them dangling off the edge, which when it fills up, it'll look really cool, as you guys, hopefully you guys can see my vision. But you see, getting rid of that, all that moss, you can hopefully prevent the spread of that fungus and mold there, because that is what gets your plants, guys. I'm going to put it in the opposite corner, so hopefully something comes from it. We have another plant on the other side, guys. How cool will that be? So put them right over there. Green bits facing out so I can get some sunlight. And just like that, we pray and hope that something grows off of that, because I hate breaking pieces off my plants, guys. So there we go, guys. I am now going to clean everything up, and I'm going to get those little rocks and cover the surface of our pots, and then I can share that like I said, not exciting news, but news with you guys. So I have now put all the little stones on top of our plants, and I don't know if I like it, but obviously in time, if I don't like it, I can just take them off. But hopefully our plants love it. Hopefully they start growing really well. And this was the first time I've ever repotted Cephalotus, so if you guys have any tips, any suggestions, anything like that, please let me know. I'd really appreciate it. So now it is time for that news. The reason why this video was a little bit late was because firstly I was sick, and then we went to Portugal. The reason why we went to Portugal was to see if we would enjoy living there, because a lot of people say it's a really nice place to live. But we had quite a different experience. This is the hotel that's trying to scam us. We booked a car. It took them half an hour to get to us at first. Like I said, they already scammed us with the insurance, but I bought us some pizzas, which cost 66 euros. We have to pay to get the key every day, to go to our room every day. And our car is gone.
Oh, I made it.
No.
It's fine.
No, if I miss, if I break, I'll pay.
No.
So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on that video. I'll see you guys then.